God. What is God? How and what does he look like? What kind of God is he? How is he in himself? How comes God is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient? I cannot dare to ask how far your truth leaves you away miles, and how finally you found no tangible answers. Whenever you ask yourself these questions, that echoes and sounds like thunder across your mind. What is God, and how is he? This is Done Media TV. You are warmly welcome once more in today's session, Bible and Fact. And my name is Sasa Done. Look, the Bible reveals the hidden identity, personality, and even the corners of God's heart. And for us, by unveiling the scriptures, we become pilgrims of divine wisdom. And I, Sasa Done, today, I'm here to tell you with the Bible widely open that God is spirit. You have never seen God, and there is no one has ever seen God at all. But now, it is absolutely true that the Bible speaks of his hands, but you have to know that that is just a way to make our limited minds get an understanding that God is very powerful. On the other hand, it is also true that the Bible speaks of his eyes, but you know what? That is a way to make our limited minds get an understanding that he sees everything. It is also definitely true that the Bible speaks of his mouth. But did you know that it's just a way to make our limited minds get an understanding that God speaks and reveals himself? God is truly spirit. He has no body. He cannot be weighed, measured, and even touched or felt. Who is God? He is not something, but the truth is, he is someone. That is the reason as to why God has names like Jehovah and Yahweh. Through these names, God revealed himself to Moses in the burning bush, whereby God himself said to Moses that I am who I am. Now, by considering these ways of expressing God is someone, and this is the point we have to bear on our minds. It is the reason why several times in the Bible we read that people befriended God and he became their true friend. It is also the reason why from the beginning of the Bible to the end we read that God himself can be known. Who is this God? This is the great God we found in the scriptures. But how is he in himself? But in terms of space, God is omnipresent, or he is everywhere. Allow me to take you in the Bible, the book of Jeremiah 23:24. The Bible says, do I not fill heaven and earth? This means that God is not absent anywhere, and in all his glory, or his being, or his majesty, or his purity, and all his power. And in everything that God is, he is anywhere, anytime, and everywhere. Now, according to human beings' mortal and limited mind, it is tough and complex to understand how can it be that God is here and yet is there. Frankly speaking, this leaves our minds completely perplexed because it surpasses our human understanding. But that is what the scriptures proclaims. And after all, here is what to do. We have to bow and worship him abundantly. Another point is that God is eternal. In terms of time, from everlasting to everlasting, he is God. When Abraham prayed to him, and even when we pray to him very right now, he is exactly the same. He never changed, and he had no beginning. He has no end. He has no age. He is infinite. In terms of knowledge and skills, God is omniscient, which means that God knows everything. Humankind's knowledge is very limited, and whenever we combine all that human beings knows, is very little. It is just a part of the whole that God knows. Because we need to learn everything one by one, but surprisingly, we often forget them as quick as possible. But God never learned anything, and there is nothing he doesn't know anywhere, and he sees everything as they really exist at all the time. When we read the scriptures in Psalms 147, that his understanding is infinite. Now this means that we cannot deceive him. Now in terms of holiness, God is holy. The Bible tells us that he is holy. God is light, and in him is no darkness. The word holy means to be set apart. And God is set apart from all his creatures because he is completely different. completely pure. Yet humankind cannot simply understand what that clearly means, but all we have to do is to accept what the scriptures says, that he is glorious in holiness. Now, another point we have to bear on our minds is that God is just. Friends, allow me to take you a little bit in the Bible. The book of Psalms 145. The Bible says that the Lord is righteous in all his ways. God cannot do, think, speak, commit, or have a long thought. Absolutely everything that God does is light. God is love. He can never be blamed for anything. The Bible says that God is love. Here is the point, friends. The Bible does not say that love is God. The Bible says that you, Lord, are good and ready to forgive and abundant in mercy to all who call upon you. God is wise. From the book of Daniel, the Bible says that for wisdom and mighty are his. Now, friends, let's take a look at the creation of his. It is all God's work. How wise is he to have created it all? To him be glory forever. He is incomprehensible. Now, as we read the Bible, we get everything quite clear. What is God? How does God look like? What kind of God is he? How is he in himself? We are able to answer these questions because God himself has given the answers in his word, Bible. Friends, here is a takeaway. The questions that begins with how, no one of us can answer. For example, how can God be omnipresent? I mean being everywhere at the same time and all the time. How can God be omniscient? I mean all-knowing, by knowing everything as they really exist without learning them. How can God be omnipotent? I mean all-powerful all the time without getting older. How can he be three and yet one? How can he be just and even love just and good? No human being can answer any of these questions because we are just ordinary creatures. Our minds are limited. And remember, we are sinful creatures. I tell you assuredly that there is no question that starts with how we can answer because we are not God. But the questions that start with what, we can answer them. For example, what is God? What kind of God is he? I tell you the truth that these kind of questions has already answers, for God chose to reveal himself to us. There is only one thing we can do, that is just to bow on our knees before God himself and admit that he is our God and we his creatures. We thank you for staying tuned on the Name Media TV. Remember to subscribe and comment on this session, Bible and Facts, in order to grow and expand the family of Donay Media TV.